Is the law of attraction BS? Today we're going to find out. Today's episode is called Is the Law of Attraction BS? And that BS stands for belief systems. Now, before we get into this, Kat, do you want to explain your take on what the law of attraction is?
Yeah, my take on it is that the world that we live in is made up of energy. And the energy that we put out, meaning the thoughts that we have, the energy that we put out is attracted back to us. Some people might be reminded of karma with this, right? It's like kind of do bad things and then bad things happen to you, or people are like instant karma when someone's a jerk and then like they trip or something like that. The law of attraction is like that on a much wider scale. And that's how I view it. Is your definition different?
I'd say that captures it pretty good. For me, the way I phrase it in my head, just to use different words, is that the energy you put out, you bring back to yourself. So if you think of it like a magnet, a magnet has two polarities to it. I'm making this really simple, but it'll attract certain things and it will absolutely repel other things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the law of attraction. So that we don't necessarily always think about is like, it's not what you're attracting. It's also what you can almost say repelling, but law of repelling doesn't sound that great. It's terrible marketing. So
what would you say to somebody who thinks the law of attraction is like actual BS? That is just some actual stuff and it doesn't exist. Like, what would you tell someone if they came to you and said that?
Well, I'm not big on trying to change other people's belief systems when they're not open to it. So I probably wouldn't say too much. But I would say this. A lot of times I hear people that just don't get this. They don't get energy. They don't get, and I'm coming from that part. I mean, I was an accountant in my former life and I've turned into an energy healer. There is no real correlation between these things. And what I found has happened over time is that the people that don't believe this stuff, they're just not going to believe it. And that's why having a community like this is so important, because I absolutely believe it. I see it all the time. I think we all have micro instances of it. And I think sometimes the people that don't believe it, they're just not there yet. Right. But there are people that are kind of like, okay, so prove it. And it's like, okay, a great example is in The Secret. Not that it's from that movie from a decade past ago, where it's like, if you get out of bed the wrong way and everything feels off and then bad things keep happening to you throughout the day, and you can't figure out why, that's a good example of the law of attraction. Something in you, something around your energy, your auric field, is putting out this energy of bad things always happen to me. And then bad things start happening. And when you start to change your thoughts and your belief systems, that's when you start to see changes. But I think a lot of people are almost afraid because they're like, okay, well, then if I could, I know I was like this, if I can actually change these things with my thoughts, do I have to monitor my thoughts all the time? Yes and no. Do I have to, what happens if I choose wrong? You can't. There's all these kind of trip ups that kind of happen in us. So but I've learned to not try to move giant trees from where they stand. It just aggravates me and the tree, to be quite honest. So yeah.
I remember learning about this, and I remember thinking, but bad things happen to good people all the time.
Yeah, bad things happen for people.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to learn lessons. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything or three things. And I believe that, again, that thought is a belief system. And, bad things happen to good people. Yes, I believe I'm a good person. I've had a lot of bad things happen to me, and I am happy to share all of them. And it's only when I reframe that to bad things happen for me, they're
Right.
no longer bad things. They're things that I don't understand the full impact of. Um, and I think, you know what, this is going off script a little bit for us, but you know that my sister has autism. And for listeners that have never heard this story before, bear with me for 2 seconds. My sister, severe autism, in my very early teen tweens, she tried to kill me. And then she continuously tried to do that over 2 years. And it was a very painful experience. And I buried that experience away because I didn't want to face it. Now, and I always asked, why do the bad things happen to me? Fast forward to a lot of belief work, energy work, and just mindset stuff. I can see now that this thing was probably one of the best things that could happen to me, because I am now able to come to people and see a whole different view that most people can't see. Most men cannot see, for sure.
Right.
And that's how I reframe it, is this
Right.
happened for me. So again, that's a belief system. And when we're looking at our belief systems through all of this stuff, through all these lenses, and we're going, well, the law of attraction doesn't work. You're right. That's your belief system. It's not going to work for you. It probably still is in the background, but you're just not going to maybe realize it until you have an epiphany or something. I believe that the law of attraction works. It doesn't work the way we think.
Right.
So, and I think that's another thing that people tend to get lost on, is that we tend to think that, well, I wanted, I was walking around feeling like $1 million and I never got my lottery tickets cashed in and all this stuff. It's not that. We live in a feeling universe. We are on a feeling planet. And if the thing you want is money, what is that? Money is abundance. Money is, a freedom of scarcity. It's just that a good feeling. It's an elevated feeling. So that's what you're actually wanting. So maybe it came into you a different way. Maybe you don't have that $1 million that you're like, I am attracting $1 million. I am attracting $1 million. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just that now you can pay all your bills and you can travel the way you want, and you're not having to worry about money. That was actually the energy you were putting out. It's not your words either, because we can all say words, but if we're thinking something else or feeling differently, that's where the change is. So I think we all need to kind of do that gut check of like, well, it's not working for me. Okay, it's not working for you, but it's working for you.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, myself included, are guilty of trying to control outcomes. And it's something that I'm working on myself. And so I think that when a lot of people talk about the law of attraction or teach the law of attraction, it seems so black and white. It seems like, take a journal, write these things down, write down what you want, write down the exact amount of money you want, write yourself a blank check, for whatever amount you want. And like, that's how you're going to get X, Y, and Z. But what we've learned over the last few years is that it all works for your favor in the most interesting and mysterious ways. Sometimes you have to go through hard things to get to the good things. Sometimes you get what you asked for in a way that you completely didn't expect. And the way I would encourage anyone to view the law of attraction is as a belief system, but as a belief that everything's going to work out for you. And it's an adventure to find out how that's going to come to be, and to let go of the details and the specifics of what you want. And like Andrew said, really focus on the feeling of how you want to feel, because then you're going to attract more of that feeling. And that's been an interesting lesson for us, I think, over the last few years, is to kind of let go of the result. It's hard to do, though.
Oh, it's really hard, because our brains, like, you're basically walking into a pitch black room when you do that. You say, yes, I want this, but I want it this way. Your way might be better, universe, but I need to know that it's going to happen
Yeah.
in, ABC, not XYZ. I want the ABC. And the universe is going and looking at you, tapping your head, going, it's going to be XYZ. And that's the lesson you need to learn with this. I will say this, an easy way for law of attraction for anybody that's listening to this and really going like, this is just woo, and I'm not really there yet. There are a lot of things around it and principles and whatever. But the easiest way I can think of is today, go around smiling at everyone you see and see how many people smile back at you compared to yesterday when you weren't smiling at everybody else. And then you're going to notice, wow, people smile back. That is the law of attraction in a very, very basic form. You are putting out happiness, and happiness is literally being reflected back on you from everyone's faces. And there's going to be people that are like, well, I tried that because I'm just going to negate this one person out there that's going like, I tried this and it didn't work. Were you truly happy? Were you like, like gritting your teeth at people and looking like
everyone was watching this on video for that face. That was
like, are you like looking like a pit bull smiling at people where you're giving like the scariest face you can, thinking it's like, it's like a pained smile? No, go and just be happy for a few hours around people in public. You don't have to talk to anyone. You just, you see someone, you smile, they smile back, and you move on.
We all know those people that just have like good energy, right?
Yeah, we all know me.
Attract good energy.
I'm putting it out there.
But people really do, like, in all honesty, people really do like give such good energy back to Andrew because he does exude that. I've walked around a lot with Andrew over the years, different conferences, whatever, and he just got good vibes. And people come up to him. Lots of people bare their soul to him because he just has that, like, tell me your problems,
I can help people a lot.
I'm here to help you. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And I put out good energy when I do certain things, and I always find it comes back in so many different ways. And I think one of the problems with law of attraction is the timing thing. Like we kind of go, okay, well, I want Air Jordans. I'm thinking about like, kids and stuff. It's like, well, I put out the energy for Air Jordans and I didn't get Air Jordans. It's like, do a little bit more digging. Did you get the feeling of Air Jordans? Did something get offered to you that could have led you to that? And you said no, because, I think you have a great example of law of attraction about like the person who prays to the person who's like on their roof because everything's flooding.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, God send me,
save me. Yeah.
Yeah, and they somebody in a boat comes by and they're like, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." And another person comes by, and it's like, "No, I'm waiting for this." And it's like, "Come on."
Yeah.
The things are coming. You just got to be aware.
It kind of reminds me of that country songs, like "I Thank God for Unanswered Prayers." It's like sometimes the things that you think that you want, like God, the universe, the energy of the world, whatever belief you subscribe to, things are working in your favor all the time. It's just we can't see the whole picture. And some things you thought you really wanted, the job you really wanted, the relationship you really wanted. Sometimes you figure out things later, or you hear things later, or you recognize, or you get into a different situation that's much better. And there then comes the understanding of why this thing didn't work out, why you didn't get that job. Oh, because if you would have gotten that job, you would have never been at this conference where you met your person and now you have 3 kids, or whatever the story is. It's always working for your favor. And that is a core part of the belief system that allows the law of attraction to work in the best ways.
That's right. I think that's a good exercise for everyone, is to look back on something in your life that you really wanted. And I'm talking like really, really wanted, and how you didn't get it. But when you start looking at the stepping stones that you had to follow because you didn't get it, it led you to something else. Whether that was meeting a new friend, getting a job, not getting a job, a lot of those things happen. And I think sometimes we get a little myopic with our view. Can I Google myopic later on just to make sure I use that?
All these big words today.
I know. I bought a thesaurus. I didn't. There's the snort, folks.
Yes.
Oh gosh. My point is that when you expand your view of things, you might get a better holistic view of the picture of the thing you actually wanted and how it was a feeling and not that. So the other thing that I find, like I mentioned earlier, I'm an energy healer now. And one of the things I really work on people with is their beliefs.
Yeah.
And one of the key things that I've experienced with most people is that we have something called a dual belief. Mm. Now, easiest understanding of this is that a dual belief is like you have two dogs holding a rope running in opposite directions. And because this is happening in your brain doesn't know what to do, so it doesn't do anything. Mm. And so what we want to do is get the dogs facing the same way, or we want to just let one of the dogs go, whichever one makes sense. Now, I think people can kind of get that concept. But the thing I see most people come into with is the belief, I want to be rich. And, we do a series of muscle tests on stuff like that, and they believe it. And then we test something like, rich people are bad, rich people are evil, I can't be rich. It's, it's more holy to be poor. My riches won't come in this lifetime. There are a myriad of things. I'm using big words today,
wow.
Geez, and I hope I'm using them right.
It must be that thesaurus that you got.
It's a dictionary. And when you start looking at these beliefs that are like pulling you in opposite directions, you can sit there all day and say, I'm a rich person, I'm a rich person, I'm a rich person. But if the subconscious part of you has a belief that rich people are bad, or you can't be a good person and be rich, or all these things are running underneath, you can say it till you die. It's not going to change anything. You have to address the underlying issue with those things. And that is, I think, the biggest aspect of the law of attraction being BS, is that people don't ever think of the dual belief and how that opposite belief of what they want is actually part of their foundation that they're not even aware of, because they've said this stuff over and over. And you can do that sometimes and it might override it, but it's still a challenge. So it's just easier to release the brakes and let go of the unhelpful beliefs.
What are the steps someone can take to find out if they have a dual belief?
I use muscle testing for a lot of things. So muscle testing is, you can do a Google search for it. And there's different ways to do it. Basically, beliefs or any kind of statement that keeps you strong when you say it is a belief that you have. It's a true belief. And anything that makes you weak is a belief that you either don't have or isn't serving you. So when we do a session, I'll get you to baseline test. So I'll get you to say something like, my name is Catherine. Mm-hmm. And, we'll do a muscle test on that. Usually I use the sway test for a lot of people when we're doing it online. And then I'll get you to test something negative. And muscle testing, you'll move forward in the sway test for positive statements. You'll test backwards for negative statements. So the key to this is that you're doing it with your eyes closed and you're not trying to influence it, mm-hmm. because that just negates the whole thing. So you really have to kind of just let it go and trust.
It's kind of like your subconscious is answering for you is the idea.
Absolutely.
It's like confirming or denying the statement.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I mean, it goes into a whole, like we could do a whole like hours on this. Yeah. But you might have like trapped emotions around wealth. You might have a belief that, I can't be richer than my parents because they won't like me. You might have I can't be richer than my friends because they won't be friends with me. There's a lot of stuff in there. So my role is to figure out what those things are and release them. So if you're wanting to test for that, just, Google sway test, muscle testing. I think discoverhealing.com actually has like a free mini course on that kind of
and
stuff.
Don't knock it till you try, because I'd never heard of this before. And I was like mind blown the first time. I was like, wow, this is wild.
Every client I have that does this, they're just like, their jaw drops and they're like, I've also had friends that are like, I can't do this. I don't want to know this stuff. And it's like, that's fine too. But it is very, very cool. And it's how you kind of start to let go. It's the first step. Like, you're bringing awareness to it. And we always say awareness is the first step to change. And when you can become aware that, you know what, I do think, and I'm not hating on rich people with this, but I think this is kind of the one that resonates the most with people, is like, wow, I do have like this negative concept of rich people, or of having more money, or of being wealthy, or not struggling, because there is something there that serves me. Whatever you have is serving you in one way or another, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. And the reason that we're using this example of wealth and wealthy people and all of these things is because when we talk to people about the law of attraction, pretty much the number one thing people want to attract is money. And so we're giving examples and we're explaining muscle testing and all of those things, because before you can attract the things that you want to attract, you need to make sure that your BS, your belief systems, actually are lining up with the things that you want to attract. You can wake up and write a million times on paper, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a millionaire. But until you actually deal with and deeply, go in to your belief system, you're introspective, you take time, you think back, you try to understand why you are the way you are, only then can you really get into the correct feeling to attract more of that feeling.
Exactly. And that's the feelings part of it is so huge, because words, I don't want to say words don't have any meaning, but if that feeling underneath isn't there, it's because there's something missing. And there's not enough time to cover all of that stuff. But if you are saying, I want to be rich, and you're feeling weak from that, something's there. And that's okay. Right. It can be healed very much easier than it ever has been.
Yeah.
But I will say, for people who are kind of going, this is kind of out there. It is. I started telling myself I was lucky a few months ago, and, lucky things, quote unquote, started happening to me.
Right.
I never said I was lucky. I was saying this in one of our past episodes. Like, I literally won a trip to anywhere in the world by just telling myself and feeling lucky with everything. And other things, it's not like it went from nothing to this. It went from like, oh, like I started to find money on the ground, and people started to be nicer to me, and I got free upgrades when I traveled, and all these little things started happening. And I'm like, right, now I am feeling lucky as I do these things, and it's perpetuating more of that feeling. It also works in reverse, but that's what we're trying to say is like, when you deal with these little things and you start to feel something and you're saying it, and you don't have dual beliefs holding you back, suddenly you're cooking with gas. Like, it goes so much faster.
Yeah, I love that. So if I were to sum up the lessons in this episode and what I hope people take away, it's that the law of attraction is so much more than desiring something and hoping it comes back to you. And if the law of attraction hasn't worked for you in the past, it likely has to do with your underlying belief system. And it's a good idea to take the steps to sort of figure out what that is in order to get to the point where you do start attracting what you want.
Well said. Well said. I completely agree. Well, I think that's a good place to go to our glimmers. My glimmer this week is I have been working on being present And I am doing my best now when I speak with someone to not just be off my phone or have something else in the background. I am doing my best to give all of my focus onto someone when I speak with them. And I'm doing it with you right now. I've been doing it the whole episode as much as I can. It's a muscle and I'm working on it. And when it comes to being present with someone, I notice huge shifts in how they are. And I notice like there is just a deeper connection with someone because you're giving your energy to them. They can tell that whether they are, doesn't matter what kind of person they are. You just know when somebody's actually present and listening to you rather than waiting for their turn to say their words. And I just have had such deeper conversations, even if they're like light conversations. There's just been a lot more deeper conversations with the people around me. And I'm really, really grateful for that. So that's my glimmer for this week. How about you, Kat?
I love that. And in case you're new to our episode, glimmers are just like happy things and things we're trying that we like to share with you at the end of every episode to sort of leave on a high note. If this is your first time tuning in, a lot of my glimmers are about thrifted items, and good deals that I get because I am a Facebook Marketplace junkie, thrift store junkie. I love finding good things. And yesterday I got a new desk and it's purple. And it's this really well-made vintage brand of a desk. And I found it on Facebook Marketplace. It took me about, 0.5 seconds to say, I want it. And I did a little internet search, which I'm known to be an internet detective, like so many other millennial women out there. And I found a very similar piece of furniture selling for $2,400 at this upscale design store. And so that's my glimmer. I love a good deal. It gets me stoked. And that was my good deal from yesterday.
Wow. I love your thrift store Facebook Marketplace finds. I am just always in awe. I'm like, I don't have that kind of stuff around me. So good on you.
Maybe that's just your belief system. And if you believe it, then maybe you're...
I was just going to say, folks, you see how this happens? Like, we're doing it all the time. But again,
I'm teasing you, but I'm like,
there it is, right? Me saying I can never find deals is exactly me bringing that into my reality.
Your thrift store has the best stuff. And it's like, no, girl, your thrift store also has the best stuff. It's just, you have to go in there being like, what's the deal going to be today? It is a belief system.
Exactly. I love that. I really, really love that. It's so cool. Okay. On that note, folks, your mission for the week is to test out the SMILE principle with the law of attraction and see how it goes for you.
We're rooting for you.
Hey, one last thing. Don't forget to go to 5yearyou.com/future to start getting those emails from your future self. It will change your life.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer. We're podcasters on the internet. If you need to seek professional help, please go see your healthcare professional.